Hey everyone, Zach Wright, founder of Grapevine Software, the virtual office platform for your remote and hybrid workforce to stay connected, informed, and engaged from anywhere in the world. We are coming back with another Future of Work weekly report. We have two articles that we're going to be discussing today. We're going to try to get through them fairly quickly. But before we dive into the articles, we have an exciting announcement. If you don't follow us on LinkedIn, then you don't know this yet. If you do, then this is a repeat. But we are officially launching Grapevine to the public on June 10th. So if you're watching it the week that this is put out there on YouTube, then that is going to be Monday, June 10th. And what that means is now anybody would be able to go to our website or any of the links that we post and sign up to test out Grapevine's virtual office platform for 30 days free. And because we like to do things differently around here, we are also, during your free 30-day trial, offering free onboarding and setup. Now, you might not even need it because we made it extremely user-friendly and easy to implement into your organization. But if you do want to take advantage of that, once you sign up, you'll start to receive the emails where you can click on the link specifically for onboarding and schedule a meeting with me specifically where we can go ahead and walk you through the setup that you need to get it set up and into your team's hands, where you're not actually setting it up the entire trial, but you're actually using it the entire trial. So that is the exciting news that we have, but let's go ahead and get to what you came here for, which is the Future of Work weekly report. Let's start with article number 1. This is going to be coming from Workforce Lab at Slack. The published date was June 3rd, 2024, and the title is Despite AI Enthusiasm, Workforce Index Reveals Workers Aren't Yet Unlocking Its Benefit. So let's go ahead and dive into highlight number 1, which is executive urgency versus employee adoption. So the key insights that we see here is best represented through a quote from the article itself. Executive urgency to incorporate AI tools into business operations has increased 7x over the past 6 months and is now a top concern above inflation or the broader economy. So basically what this is saying is that the executives are now saying, hey, look, we need to start using AI. It didn't necessarily call out if they needed to incorporate AI tools into their products or into what they do on a daily basis. They say business operations, so I'm assuming how they operate as employees are working in their organization. And just to add some emphasis here on with stats, we're seeing 96% of executives feel an urgency to incorporate AI, and more than 2/3 of desk workers have never used AI at work. Now, if that sounds contradicting, that's exactly what they call out here, which is executives are ready to implement AI now, and employers are a little bit hesitant, or they're just not adopting it at the rate that the executives would like for them to be. And I think like what's really driving this is some of the data that we're seeing come out with people using AI in the workforce and being more productive. Right now, in this article, we're also going to be talking about not just productivity, but also satisfaction, which leads us into highlight number 2, which is benefits of AI adoption. So employees using AI tools report significant improvements in productivity and satisfaction. So the quote that we picked out from the article for this section is, among desk workers who use AI tools, 81% say it's improving their productivity. And those who use AI show higher employee engagement and experience scores across the board. So basically what they're saying here is that teams or workers, desk workers specifically, who use AI are improving their productivity by, or out of that group, 81% of them are saying that they feel like they're improving their productivity. And not just that, they're also showing a higher employee engagement and experience score. So there's some type of connection that is happening whenever the employee or the individual is using AI. One, obviously, it makes sense that their productivity is rising, but I'm curious because I didn't necessarily see this specific call out as to why they were having higher employee engagement and experience. My take on this, and this is just opinion or thought, is that whenever you're working with AI, even though it's not a real person, you are collaborating. You're collaborating with the machine, artificial intelligence, and you're able to have that attention and support that you need as an employee. So where maybe a mentor is falling short because they have their own stuff that they need to do, even though that they might want to help you, they just might not be able to because of time. AI could be kind of supplementing or substituting what it is that that employee needs. Now, there are some statistics that we can call out here. It's not going to necessarily dive into the employee engagement and experience, but let's just take a look at it so we all know. So 81% of AI users report improved productivity. We talked about that. AI users show 22% higher overall satisfaction with their jobs. Now, another thing that could factor into this beyond the opinion that I just stated is being able to be more productive with a tool like AI that can take some of the grunt work out or the administrative task out would allow them to focus on more of the impact that they want to bring to the organization, right? I know for me, being able to work with AI versus whenever AI wasn't really around or easily accessible to the public, I would write blog posts and it would take me hours in a day sometimes, especially if it was more of an intense article that relied on me fully reading other articles to get the inputs and the statistics and all that kind of stuff together. But now with the help of AI, I can significantly shorten that process, get something completed, and then move on to the other task. So I'm more productive and I'm less overwhelmed. And it's good for everyone. It's good for the company. It's good for me, where I can actually focus on something else or go to that next thing and get more done during the day. And I'm thinking now that is more of the satisfactory element of using AI versus what I mentioned before, but it could be a mixture of both or all. All right, let's go ahead and go to highlight number 3, trust and usage guidelines. So trust in AI outputs remains low, and many companies lack clear AI usage guidelines. So this is a lot of times what we'll talk about at Grapevine, since we are more focused on communication, collaboration, connection, and consolidation of our applications. One of the things that we talk about is a communications charter to make sure that everybody in the organization understands what it is exactly that you expect of them, what they expect of you, so on and so forth, or how to communicate emergencies and different things of that nature. The reason I bring that up is because that's what they're also talking about here, just in terms of AI usage in your organization. So if your organization hasn't clearly said you can use AI, as an employee, you might feel like you're doing something wrong, even though you might not be, because they don't actually care. In some cases they do, but if they don't say it, or if they're not clear around it, and if they don't have a clear AI policy that goes out to the entire organization, then it's always that kind of, should I use AI? Will I get in trouble if I use AI? It's kind of back in the pandemic days where, are we going to the office? Are we not going to the office? Are we going to stay 100% remote? Are we going to go hybrid? Are we going back to traditional 9 to 5? This is just an overall statement for company culture and having more engaged and motivated and productive employees is just be clear when you can, right? Don't leave communication up to assumption, because it's never the same way as the person who said it and the person who interpreted. Like, it's never the same. So just say it outwardly, write it down, and then give the employees an opportunity to speak up and ask questions as is related to that specific topic, so everybody is clear on that topic and what to do moving forward. Okay, let's go ahead and go into the quote for this section. So just 7% of desk workers consider the outputs of AI completely trustworthy for work-related tasks, with 35% of desk workers saying AI results are only slightly or not at all trustworthy. And then just to continue on the stats, because that quote had the stat in there, but then there's a second one here. Nearly 2 in 5 say their company has no AI usage guidelines. So we talked about that a little bit, but let's go back to what they're saying here. AI is not completely trustworthy. And I think that we have to take this not with a grain of salt, because it is very important, but I think this is where they talk about training in the next article that we talk about. But whenever it comes to AI, if somebody doesn't actually know how to use the tool AI, then it can produce certain things that become negative to the individual, to the team, and ultimately the company, especially if you're a public company, right? So you have to be very, very specific on how you want your organization to use AI. But I think also as individuals, the more that we understand AI, the better we can use it. And so I'll just put it in perspective. Whenever I started using AI, I was kind of like that novel person where I'm just asking it certain things that were for fun. And then I was able to, I think Allie K. Miller is somebody that I follow on LinkedIn and Instagram, and she's a huge advocate for AI and women in tech. So if you don't follow her, definitely follow her. But she kind of taught me about the prompts, right? So if you are getting certain things from AI, and I'm specifically talking about ChatGPT in this sense and text-based AI or Gen AI, you want to make sure that your prompts are accurate for what you're trying to create. And then on top of that, you can follow up with prompts. You don't just have to ask it once. You can continue to narrow down what it is that you're exactly looking for. But always, at least at this stage, I always double, triple, quadruple check what I am putting out there in the world. So whether it's a blog post, whether it's a LinkedIn caption, a YouTube description, or anything that I'm going to be putting out there or sharing it with the team, anything that I put out there, I look at AI as almost like an assistant that's going to help me get an outline or maybe get a couple of bullet points that will help me brainstorm, and then I'll take it to the finish line. And that from here, where generative AI spits out the text and to the finish line, what I'm doing is let's say it's a blog post. I'm reading that blog post line for line for line for line, and I'm correcting it to match it to Grapevine's specifics and what we're trying to do with that blog post. But I will use AI to help me make sure that the article is SEO specific, right? And then I won't take it word for word. I'll also add to it, because I know that AI can only do so much that it doesn't understand about Grapevine. So I take it for, okay, here's the assistant that's kind of giving me V1 draft, and then I'm going to run through it, and then I might write it and then put it back into ChatGPT and say, does this make sense? Are there any grammatical errors? Don't change anything, just fix the grammatical errors. So now I know that I've written it with the help of ChatGPT. I put it back in there. I know that it's grammatically correct and it makes sense of the flow. I'll do this a lot with Startup Founder Fridays because I like to write those specifically and then put them out there. But before I put them out there, because they are typically long, I want to make sure that it flows correctly. And I'll even ask, what would be the audience's takeaway here? Right. So that tells me, okay, I wrote it in the way that I wanted it to be written so people would have the right takeaway. So it's those types of things that we need to teach employees about how to use AI. And that's a simple use case, right? There are so many other things out there. For example, just to continue to add to this one, since we're already on it, is whenever I was building the website, we use Webflow. I would take a Loom video, I would take the embed link, I would put it in ChatGPT and say, can you help me embed this? Or can you rewrite the embed code where the play button doesn't show or the header or anything like that? And so now if you go to the website on our About Us page, or I think it's the solution overview, you'll be able to see that there's a video there and it's kind of like looping, but it doesn't have the heading or the play button. So it looks more aesthetically pleasing on our website. And I'm not a coder, even though we're building a software. Luckily, we have a really good team, but those are those types of use cases. So just think about that as a marketer. If you're building a website for your company and you don't know how to do something, you can leverage AI. So anyway, I digress. All right, let's go to highlight number 4, and then we'll close out. Okay, there's 2 more highlights, and then we close out with some summaries of this article. So emerging AI gender gap. There's a notable gender gap in AI tool usage, particularly among Gen Z workers. So they say Gen Z men are 25% more likely to have tried AI tools compared with Gen Z women. And then they say 43% of Hispanic or Latinx, I don't know if that's appropriate anymore, but that's what they say here, desk workers have tried AI tools compared with 29% of white desk workers. So okay, there's 2 things here. One is Gen Z men are using AI more than women. So we need to find a way to narrow that gap, right? Because if that continues to take off, then we could see some gender inequalities continue instead of actually level out. So again, Allie K. Miller, follow her. If you have daughters, get them into the technology field and learning AI if they want to. Obviously, don't push them if they won't. But it's up to us that can help drive this. And then the other part here is actually a good thing, is 43% of Hispanic or Latinx desk workers have tried AI tools. Now that says 43%, and so that's more than what it says for 29% of white desk workers. So that's good in the sense that, okay, they're trying it, but it didn't necessarily say, did they continue to use it? Right? So we got to figure out, okay, are Hispanics, Latinx, people of color using AI more? And if they are, how can we get them to use that and leverage that to have progression in their careers or that next job category to level out the playing field, right? Because whenever we think about Grapevine specifically, what we're trying to accomplish is make work more flexible, inclusive, and fulfilling for everyone. And that inclusive part includes trying to overcome the disparities between women, men, people of color, white people, all these different things together, right? And so that's why we get excited about this, because yes, we see Gen Z men using it more, but we can level that out. And then same thing, we see Hispanics using it more, but how can we get them to continue to use that? That's what we need to think about here, which training in every single organization will help. If you have communities, if you could provide AI training or at least offer it, that's going to be a way to help other people too. Getting it into our educational system with some guidelines is going to be extremely important too. So those are some of the things that we can think about. Highlight number 5. So AI's impact on work priorities. So this was pretty interesting. So AI could potentially increase AI could potentially increase busy work instead of reducing it if not managed correctly. So instead of allocating the time saved by AI towards strategic or high level activities like learning and skill building, employees are likely to spend 37% more of their time on routine administrative tasks. So basically, what they're saying here is instead of allocating that time that was saved by AI on more high value activities that would drive either the individual, the team, or the organization forward, with things like learning and skill building, they're being the employees, are more likely to put that time back into routine administrative task. So, and then these are the stats that they talk about. So desk workers spend about a third of their day on low value tasks. And then it just repeats what it says, like employees are likely to spend 37% more of their time on routine administrative tasks if AI usage isn't properly managed. Okay, so that helps us out a little bit more. So employees are likely to spend 37% more of their time on routine administrative tasks if AI usage isn't properly managed. So this actually goes back to, I think it was either highlight number 1 or 2, where it's talking about the usage guidelines. Actually, that was number 3. It goes back to the usage guidelines. If an employee doesn't understand the best way to use AI, then what they're going to do is waste it, really, right? And so that's where we need to make sure that employees know how to use AI, know how it applies to their specific either role or job duties or projects that they're working on, and then put in those guidelines to make sure that they don't kind of go off rogue and only use it for certain things versus actually making the impact in the organization. So let's go ahead and summarize this because we're getting a little bit long already. But the call outs that we see here are executives are eager to integrate AI, but many employees have yet to adopt these tools. The second one is AI users report significant productivity and satisfaction gains. So that's a plus for the employee. So if you're an executive trying to implement AI in your organization, make sure that you tell them the WIFM, what's in it for them, what's in it for me, right? And that's productivity and satisfaction. What happens if you're more productive? You're more likely to get promoted. What happens if you're more satisfied? You're less likely to get burned out, right? It's a win-win for both of them and you as the organization. Third, trust in AI outputs is low, and many companies lack clear usage guidelines. We really talked heavily about that. 4, a notable gender gap exists in AI tool usage among Gen Z workers. And then the next one is, or the last one is, AI could increase busy work if not properly managed. So these are extremely important things to call out because what's going to happen, and we already see it, is AI is no longer going to be a differentiator for products. It's just going to be the standard, right? And so we need to go ahead and meet our employees ahead of the curve before it gets in everything so they know how to use it, so they can use it properly for them and for your organization so they're more productive and as a result more satisfied. And you do that by having that clear usage guidelines and the training that you would add to it. All right. So now we're going to go to article number 2. I'm kind of just diving straight into it, so no breather there. I'm trying to get these down to 30 minutes, but I keep talking too much. So let's try it on this one. So the article here is 9 future of work concepts that need more attention. This is coming from Information Week, and it was published on June 4th, the day that we're recording. So it'd be yesterday whenever we publish this. But let's go ahead and dive into highlight number 1. So evolution of work models. And so this is basically saying, like, what do we need to focus on more than what we might be focusing on now? And so evolution of work models. The traditional office model has evolved into hybrid work model, emphasizing meaningful collaboration over individual tasks. So a quote from this is, people now want to come into the office for meaningful collaboration, not to work by themselves, as it's been shown that most individual work can be done remotely. That was coming from Javed Khan, VP/GM of Cisco Collaborations at WebEx by Cisco. And some of the statistics that he calls out here and the article calls out is 78% of employees prefer hybrid work for better work-life balance. And 64% of companies have restructured their office spaces to support hybrid work models. Now, my question is, in support of hybrid work models, how are you making sure that everything is maintained, whether they're in the office or working from home? And what I mean by that is, selfishly, we're talking about Grapevine software, right? We are building Grapevine specifically for remote and hybrid workforces to stay connected, informed, and engaged from anywhere in the world. I said that at the beginning, right? But what that really means is that we are giving you a centralized platform for your organization to call home. And so that means that you can give important updates and announcements. You can schedule company events. You can share social media posts. But then you can also have the community to have that, like, camaraderie area asynchronously. And in addition to that, we're working on a knowledge-based system, a document management piece, and enterprise AI search. And so what I mean by that with the centralized platform is, okay, somebody's working in the office, that's great. They might have had conversations here and there, but the person who was working from home might have been left out. How are we documenting that? Where are we storing that to make sure that it doesn't really matter where the person is? They still have a way to connect, communicate, and collaborate. And that's where Grapevine comes into play, especially if you have people working across different departments too, right? Because there's a lot of collaboration tools that are out there for specific departments. Sales, for example, will have their CRM. Marketing might have their marketing hub. CSMs might have their customer success management tool. Support might have something like Zendesk. And so what tool do you have to make sure that your hybrid work is working, even if they're not connecting in the office, or there's a mixture of people in the office or at home, right? That's where Grapevine is really coming through in success with beta users. Okay, let's go to highlight number 2, which is embracing flexibility in management. So leaders must adapt to managing teams that operate in various environments, home, office, or on the road at any time. The quote that we pulled from this section is, leaders must become comfortable with embracing new habits and a new mindset when it comes to managing teams that are moving among home, office, or the road any day of the time. And that's again from Khan. But this specifically goes back to Grapevine. That's why I'm getting so passionate about it, is because you need to have that central location for everybody to know the source of truth, to stay updated, to understand what is happening, right? And that's how managers can adapt and have that new mindset to be able to manage them more appropriately. Because what happens, and I understand it. I'm not a micromanager by any means. I'm not a macro manager either. I'm very supportive and attention oriented whenever it comes to my team. And that's just the type of person I am. But how can we have that come through in a virtual office? And one of the ways that we did it is we made ours very social, right? And so whenever you're communicating with your team, it's very familiar to like a LinkedIn or a Facebook, but it also adds elements of a Google Drive or a SharePoint or a knowledge-based system. So it's all these things together, and that's not even talking about what we have in the pipeline or the roadmap down the road, which we won't talk about. It's a little too early for that, but that is how we make leaders comfortable, by having that central source of truth where we can interact with our employees and keep everybody aligned, versus all these different collaboration tools, or having some people in the office, some people at home, and wondering how are we going to make sure that it all gets distributed in the right way. We're in a place that everybody will see it. All right. The statistics for this section here with managers is 53% of managers report needing new skills to manage remote teams effectively. And then 45% of employees feel more empowered with flexible work options. Again, this is where that contradiction comes into play, right? So managers are saying that they need new skills, right? And if you can tap into that new skill with the new tool that was built specifically for remote and hybrid organizations, that's a combination for winning. And one, it helps the manager, it helps the business leader. And then two, it allows that employee to have more flexible work options where they feel more empowered. And when they feel more empowered, they're going to be more productive. They're going to go above and beyond. They're less likely to leave. And so that, anyway, I'll stop there because I'll keep going. All right, let's take a breather for a second. I've been talking for a long time. Highlight number 3, importance of connection. All right, so the key insight that we pulled away from this section is, despite the shift to hybrid work, human connection remains crucial for innovation, cohesiveness, trust, and communication. I'm going to go ahead and read the stats and the quote here because I'm going to dive into Grapevine again. Innovation will continue to be fueled by cohesiveness, trust, and communication, and is only built through human connection, says Josh Smith, head of America's CR and global head of talent management at Sedgwick. And then the statistics here are 89% of employees believe that strong team connection boosts productivity. And 72% of companies are investing in technology to facilitate better communication. So just to break this down, since we are launching on Monday, just bear with me. So at Grapevine, we have a company social intranet. This is where you can do your important updates, your important announcements, your company events. You can connect with coworkers. You have your About Us page where people can connect with your vision, your mission, your core values. And then you have the employee directory that you can actually use to check out the employee profiles, which goes deeper than any other employee profile that we've seen, because it's very similar to a Facebook profile where you share images of your personal life and milestones that you've achieved. But then you also have a version of it like your LinkedIn profile where you have your skills, who you report to, are you working remotely, on site, or hybrid. And then you have which department you work in. Also, you have your previous experience. And all those things become searchable in the employee directory or in the search tab whenever you're searching people, right? So if you're about to take a sales call with somebody who used to work at that company that you're about to sell into, you would go to the employee directory and type in that company. You would see the employees who used to work there. You can send an instant message or a real-time chat in Figgy Chat, all in Grapevine. You haven't left the tool yet. And ask them, hey, can you connect with me or tell me some inputs? Now, they might respond with an instant message response, or you would go to the employee directory, click on the video conferencing tool. We call them instant meetings. And then you have a meeting right then and there. And let's say that you use a tool like Fathom, you record that. Now you have your notes and you prepare for the meeting. You're going to go into there more prepared than you ever would have been if you didn't know that this person worked there. Right. So it's endless on how you can connect. We also have the community section. So the company news feed is where anybody can post questions. You can celebrate wins. You can celebrate life milestones. Maybe you and your family went to the beach. It was your first kid's first beach trip. You took a picture. You want to post it on the community. Now everybody is getting to know you more. You are having, if we go back here, the strong team connections. And they say that 89% of employees believe that strong team connections boost productivity. So think about that, right? Monday, June 10th, sign up. Okay. I'll stop. All right. Highlight number 4, varied models or varied modes of connection. Companies should offer diverse modes of communication and connection, supporting both work-related and personal interest. I just talked about it, so I trust me, I won't go into it. But Grapevine, much more than just like a Slack tool, much more than email and all these other things. It's really a place that your entire company gets to call home and build culture remotely and stay connected to one another from anywhere. All right. The quote that we pulled out here is similar, so just bear with me. Company leaders should be emphasizing variability in connection for employees across various mediums and forums, both work and interest-wise, says Smith. And so I think one of the things that we want to call out here is that what he's really saying here is that, okay, yes, you want to focus on work. You want to have the way to connect with people about work, but then you also want to have the way to connect people on what their interests are, which I don't know if I mentioned our employee profiles has hobbies. Those are searchable too. Eventually we'll have spaces that you can create. And one of those spaces could be hiking and kayaking, right? And then you get your team or a group of people in your organization who likes to hike and kayak. And now they're communicating all day. They feel like they're connected. Your culture is thriving. Your business is thriving because of the connection that they formed. Your retention is high. Your productivity is high. Your bottom line, top line. I mean, it's endless, right? So anyway, 67% of employees participate in virtual team building activities. 80% of companies see improved engagement with varied communication channels, right? So we talked about that, but just all kidding aside, beyond Grapevine, just you want to make sure that you have the infrastructure to support your team, no matter whether they work in the office, if they're remote or they're hybrid. You want to make sure that they have ways to connect with one another for business, but also outside of work, right? Because those close connections are going to be extremely important whenever it comes to having a successful company, especially in this future of work age. Because if you work 100% remote, one of the things that you notice and that we often heard whenever we were doing product validation calls, and we still see today, is isolation, loneliness, not being able to build culture easily until now. So let's go ahead and summarize this and wrap it up before I make you go crazy with all my excitement. Okay, first call out to summarize this is the hybrid work model is here to stay with a focus on collaboration over individual tasks. Effective management now requires flexibility and a new mindset. Human connection remains a top priority for fostering innovation and trust. And just to call this out, because I didn't earlier, human connection does not always mean in person. It just means connecting to someone on a humanistic level rather than only on the work that is being done at the job or the company. I call it going beyond the squares, right? You're looking at me in the square, you go beyond it. to fully engage and get to know someone outside of work. And that does contribute into more productivity. And the last one here, as we wrap up, is companies must support varied modes of communication to drive connection. That was a lot, I feel like. But as always, we're going to link the articles in the description on YouTube. And if you have any comments on this episode, be sure to drop them in the comments. If there's anything that you want us to dive deeper in on, if you have a question, or if you want to participate in the Future of Work weekly report, or be on our Untangled Vines Redefining the Rules of Work podcast, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with any other Future of Work pioneers out there so we can continue to move up in the algorithms and continue to build the future of work that we know we deserve as employees. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for our official launch on Monday, June 10th. We'll see you on the next weekly report.